Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to record an episode that's very personal to me. And I really go on the personal side. So please bear with me and let me give you the subject, the intention, where am I coming from with this, and what you might get out of it. All right. The subject I have in mind is how to spiritualize business. Now, if you just stop in your tracks there and you said, oh my gosh, spiritualized business, what the heck is that? Well, replace the word. I find that there's a lot of resistance around the word spiritual for many sad and wrong reasons, mainly biases that most people have. So, conscious business, let's say, loving business, evolved business. Use any one of these if it feels better to you. But at the end of the day, I think it's time to bring about an important shift. I'd say even a revolution into the business world where we shift gears and we go higher than the typical conversations that we have these days, which are not bad. They're helpful, but we can aim much higher than talking about mental health and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I want to talk about that. How to bring more love into business, how to bring more clarity in businesses, how to be more conscious businesses, more conscious business leaders, how to spiritualize business, because believe it or not, these are all themes that can fall under the umbrella of spirituality. So I want to talk about that from a very personal perspective on two fronts. On one front, about a guy trying to get into a business as an employee. I've been looking for a job for the past 8 months and I can't get one, not because I'm not competent, not because I don't have the skills, but because I scare people away the minute they realize that I'm spiritual. And that's very sad. That's very sad. Yeah, not just for me, but for our business world, for our world in general. How can we exclude the fact that we're hoping to have friends, relationships, and families that are loving, safe, welcoming, open, kind, compassionate? And I could go on, for a long time. How can we strive for that in our personal lives and yet exclude it from business? And I'm not trying to generalize here because there's a lot of businesses that are trying to do it. Maybe just I haven't found them yet. Or when I do, I just happen to fly a little bit higher and I'm told that they're not ready to shift that gear yet. But I think it's time. And I think it needs you who are listening to take on that challenge and shift that gear to elevate not only your business and the people you get the blessing to work with all over, right? From your employees to your customers to your suppliers to everybody that you get the blessing to touch with in your business. But it takes you, conscious leader, to fly higher and to bring love and consciousness and spirituality in your business. And it's nothing woo-woo. And it's not about dancing kumbaya, around a fire pit and having ayahuasca retreats within your businesses and doing meditation and reading tarot cards and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with this stuff. I mean, I've tried it, but true spirituality, the essence of true spirituality, has to do with love, has to do with inner peace, has to do with harmony, has to do with kindness, compassion, community, collaboration. It's about evolving. How can you say no to that? right? So that's I said there was two front from which I wanted to tackle the subject. That's one, a guy trying to go into a business as an employee and observing the difficulties and the challenges of being spiritual. And the second is about what I've just shared, the mission that is behind my practice Stoa, bringing more love and consciousness and spirituality into the world. That has to go through someone in order to touch the business. I happen to like that. I happen to like both. I come from a family business, a very successful one, by the way, multi-million dollar business, multi. And I wish that I could have seen that more in our own family dynamic. I would probably be at the helm of the business now if that would have been the case. But it was not. And it's fine. But this reality has given me tremendous sense of motivation and purpose to strive on, to spiritualize you, business leader, and in your business. The next revolution in my own humble views. And that's where people in businesses need to go. And I'm not going to give up. I've been told to give up because I'm too soon. I'm scaring people away. They're not ready, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, but I'm not giving up and I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm going to stand tall and strong, knowing that this is the right thing to do, point blank. I don't see it in any other way. How can bringing love anywhere that you do and anything that you do can be the wrong thing to do? Unconceivable. Unconceivable. Because it's all about love. So I don't think actually, I don't think I have much more to say about that, but I'm going to expand a little bit on the subject. And I'm going to start with an analogy, okay? And it's an analogy that I've come up with lately to demonstrate the gravity and the ridiculousness, if that's even a word, of this situation. So let's picture this. Let's picture that 40, 50 years ago, you, or maybe think about your father or grandparents or siblings or whomever that lived 50, 40 years ago. Let's imagine that person going into an interview for a job that they're qualified for. They have the skills, they have the experience. They might not be from the industry, but they've done this, right? Okay. And they're killing it. It's doing great. They do all of the stages and steps of the process and they get to the end. And two things happened. Either they're being ghosted or uh, they're being turned down for the position. And the reason why has to be with the fact that they're going to church on Sundays. Well, think about it. All right. 40 or 50 years ago, a lot of people were going to church on Sundays. So what I'm saying, it doesn't make sense. Nobody would have got turned down for a job if they are going to church on Sundays 40 or 50 years ago. It was just the norm. People were doing that. It was fine. Fast forward to today, and I tell you from my own experiences, I go through the same steps, the same process for jobs that I'm qualified for, I have the experience for, sometimes overqualified for. And the minute they realize that I'm a spiritual man, I get ghosted or they turn me down. And that fiberglasses me. How can in 2025, when you talk about mental health, vitam aeternam, Latin meaning forever, you go on and on forever. I mean, that's the trend these days, right? Businesses talk rightfully, or sometimes, I want to say, marketingly about mental health and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And yet, as soon as they see somebody with a spiritual spirit, they see a spiritual man coming in, that flies higher in mental health and DI, resistance comes up and they get scared away. And I'm telling you, I'm being ghosted or turned down. I'm not mad. I get it. You're scared. Okay, I understand. But that's also why I'm recording this, to awake as much people as I can to the fact that tackle this from any angle. We're always going to end up at the same place. The core of it all remains why you're pushing me away. Because I'm a spiritual man, which has nothing to do with religion, by the way. But yes, I understand that we have a bunch of biases against religion for many reasons. And spirituality happens to be a word that connects to religion. Okay, fine, I get that. But there's a lot of, lexical 101 here. But even that, if you're scared about spirituality because it links to religion and the biases you have against religion, you end up at fear. You're fearful of me because I talk about love and I talk about consciousness and I talk about compassion and kindness. You're not ready for this. We'll end up at the same place, fear. So tackle this from any angle that you wish. Fear is the number one obstacle in this equation. And it's funny to me to see that if fear is the number one obstacle in this equation, its counterpart that resolves this is the reason why you're pushing me away, spirituality. Listen, I've walked the spiritual path for the past 20 years or so, as long or as much as long as my career. I know this much better than business, actually, if I'm being honest. And the spiritual path is about freeing oneself, is about joy, is about happiness, is about love, is about finding all this within so you can offer it back. Well, I'm trying to put it simply. We can go much higher than this. There's different levels. There's levels of consciousness, obviously. But in simple terms, that's what it is. That path, that work, that inner work that one does eliminates fear. And why are we pushing away that or the person that's bringing that if we can objectively see that we're fearful? You see what I mean? The solution to the fear is in the I don't know how to put it differently. Okay, let me put it into these words. Here's my wish. I'm talking to you, conscious leader out there, or conscious leader to become or to be. If you're serious about creating businesses that operate consciously with humanity, and yet that don't exclude the impact you want to have in the world, the performance you want to drive out of it, the success you want to have with the business. They're not mutually exclusive. It is not true that success, prosperity, abundance, money, impact, purpose of the business or its leaders or its employees as a whole excludes the fact that we can all do this in a very conscious way, in a loving way, in a spiritualized way. That's a utopia. That's a myth. And I'm trying to debunk that myth. I'm trying to awake leaders, conscious leaders, to the fact that you can reconcile business and your deep soul calling to lead your life with great love, with great joy, with great harmony and peace. And I'll go even further. They actually go hand in hand. One doesn't lead necessarily to the other. The other one will inevitably. And that's a loaded statement there. Okay, I can already hear some of you saying, well, hold on a minute, Max. It's not because you're leading a spiritual life where you want to, lead with consciousness. We lead with love, lead with harmony, lead with kindness, lead with clarity, lead with justness, lead with morality, lead with all of those qualities of a conscious person, of a spiritual person, that you will necessarily be successful or have a business that makes money and all that. You're right. It doesn't equate that. Okay, there's much more things to consider and to play here. As basics as skills, the capacity to build and operate and execute and strategize and blah 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 and whatnot. That's not my point. But the point is the likelihood of having such prosper, performant, purpose oriented, impactful business that works, that strive, is much more likely if it comes and it operates from the intention of doing it with great consciousness and love and I don't know, let's coin a new term here, spiritualized business. Maybe that's the new revolution I'm trying to invite people on. I know it's a individual effort we all need to do, that's for sure, to spiritualize our own lives. And why do I know that as a fact? Because I've walked this path myself. I've seen it firsthand. I'll be honest, I'm not the guy, I'm not the founder that created a multi-million dollar business and sold it and made a bunch of money and has proven track record of building businesses and being good at it. That's not me. Okay. Who am I though? I'm the guy that was born in a highly successful business created by such individual, my grandfather. And I happened to spend my youth with him. And I spent time within the business with him. And I learned everything about business because of him. And I've seen him at play. I've seen him ranking those millions, living the high life, creating those beautiful projects and businesses and the accolades and the recognition and all that from the world. But I've also seen that because the man didn't do the inner work, he was suffering. And I don't want that for you. Here's who I am too. I'm the guy who had a pretty good career, I must say. From rep to VP with consulting in betweens and making good money. Nothing crazy, right? But, 200K a year, something like that. That's good money. I was living a good life. I had, great responsibilities, teams of 50 to 100, and I was doing great work. And that reminds me of David Brooks' book, The Second Mountain. He refers to the two mountains of our lives. The first one, you gravitate to the peak, chasing money, fame, titles, recognition, performance, success, growth, building stuff, blah 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 blah. And you get to that peak and you realize, gosh, I'm missing something deep here. There's still a gap inside. There's still a craving inside for something more meaningful. And typically for him, it takes the former four things, I believe. It's like community, philosophy, or spirituality. Oh, gosh, I forget the two more. But point is, you get to that peak, you do all of those accomplishments, like I did, and there's still a void inside. There's still something missing, and sometimes we refer to this as the midlife crisis too. We spent half of our life chasing something that is in reality empty. Not that it doesn't have meaning, it has for the time you're doing it, but all along you realize at one point that you've been doing it for the ego. And at one point you want to fall from that. You want to fall from that to actually you want to die from that. You want to die from that to be reborn in who you truly are. And that's the greatest journey that you start. And that's what I've done. So I can talk about it with strong trust and confidence. Because I've been that guy who was successful in my own terms, who have accomplished all of those things. And from an exterior point of view, I had it all. And yet inside, it was empty. It was dark. I touched rock bottom at one point. After a bankruptcy, after many relationships difficulties, after health problems and whatnot. I mean, I still vividly see myself on my knees, asking for help or not to be here at all. You don't get lower than that. And psychology, psych, psych. I'm having a hard time with that word. Psychology. Yeah, there you go. Psychology helped, but spirituality saved me. And that's the second mountain. You embark on a different type of journey that fills you with a much different meaning, sense of purpose. And it doesn't mean that you leave out all of the good stuff that you built and you might still do, or you're trying to something new. Your past and your experiences will follow you. That's fine. That's good. But you approach it with a much different intention, and you don't want to suffer anymore. And you want to contribute. You want to serve. You want to find great meaning, great love, great harmony, great peace within, and you want to offer it out as well. That's to spiritualize one life. It's an individual effort that I'm trying to pinpoint and to express to you so that you can see that it is equally an extension of what we need to do in our businesses. When I read stuff, great stuff like Conscious Capitalism from John Mackey or Reinventing Organization from, I'm sorry, mister, I forgot your name. Great author, French. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, buddy. I forget your name. These are great books and great ideas, great methods to show us a new way to operate within our business, to start bringing about more consciousness in how we operate. I want to push this even further. I want you to literally see all of the journey that you may have done or that you are doing or that I just expressed to you that I've done myself internally, the inner work, the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about. That is the journey I wish you to bring in your business, that I'm propelling, that I'm rooting for. It's one of the missions that I have with my own practice. Bring more love and consciousness. That's quite a new term. Yeah. Spiritualized businesses, maybe. That's what I'm trying to open your eyes to. There's nothing woo. There's nothing esoteric about this. It's just what? It's just love. It's just love in business. And again, please don't, what's the expression? You don't put out the baby with the baby water, or what's the expression again? Being, don't throw out all the good business practices that you're doing. It doesn't have anything to do with that. Come on. There are great tools. There are great stuff that needs to be done in a business so that it works efficiently, beautifully, and so that it thrives. What I'm talking about here is imbuing the people of such businesses with another layer of intention. You know what I mean? Another of intention to lower our resistance and open up our minds to realize that there's no difference between business and life. There's only life. There's only life. Like I said earlier, why would we go on in our own personal life with our families, ourselves, to try to create those environments where I don't get offended by what my spouse or my kid says to me? I remain at peace and in equanimity when excuse my French, but the shit hits the fan, that I can stay cool and calm and still offer my help and do what needs to get done, even though I don't feel like it. That I can be supportive of someone and offer my full attention, my skills, my capacity to help them out, to be present, to listen. These are all stuff and qualities that we're trying to embody in our own lives with friends and families and our closest ones. How can we not bring them in? We're not bringing them in the business. The business. That sounded like that, right? It's ridiculous to me. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you cast out what you are hoping, striving for in your personal life, and yet you say it doesn't have place in business. It's wrong. It's wrong meaning it's not right. It's wrong and it's not right. Yeah, take it however you want. It is what it is. Creating space, creating time, creating environments where this can live. And however you do it is important to shift the gear on how we operate our businesses in today's world and the impact we're trying to have. It really has a magnificent dual purpose here. And one will inevitably impact the other. Have you realized that we oftentimes work externally, right? We try to do stuff on the outside. But when do we stop to do the stuff inside? Well, that's what I'm suggesting. Bring the work inside, bring it back inside, do the inner work. Alone, collectively, support each other in that journey and bridge that gap with what you're trying to accomplish within your own businesses. And that will radiate far and wide, and it can't be other than transformative in so many levels. Now you're working in unity within, unity without. And that's a virtuous cycle. That's the essence of spirituality, to be in union. And I've purposefully left out of this conversation the next level to this because nobody's ready for that yet. But let me give you a hint. How can we talk about spirituality leaving out of the word its really essence, its meaning, spirit? But I'll leave that for the very few courageous ones that are willing to explore this other level of consciousness. Let me wrap up by saying that I hope I invited you, and I was not only inviting, but also convincing enough to open up a door, which says, yeah, let's explore what could this mean for us to bring more love in business? What could this mean for us to be a more conscious business? But let me step it back because I'm talking to you, conscious leader. Can you bring more love into your own life? Can you be that conscious person, that conscious leader for yourself? And then apply that to your business. That's really what we're talking about here. Spiritualize your own life and then spiritualize your business. Can I be serene, free enough inside so that I can lead with kindness, with compassion, with love, with clarity, with justice, being just too in my behaviors and actions? Can I do it to myself, the business, the people within the business, and those we get the blessing to touch? That, my friends, is the new iteration that I'm suggesting in businesses. But it has to start with you. Hence why in this, I said I would tackle this subject with two buckets from a perspective of one who's finding it challenging to find a job being spiritual. I think we've addressed that. And let's finish with the second bucket, which I've touched on anyways, but within my own practice, though, I think it became clearer and clearer to me because I haven't figured it out all yet, to be honest. It's been a long journey for me to start this process within and then figure out how to bring it about for you and in people's life and businesses, because that's what I'm trying to mingle here to a certain extent. It's part of the mission. Well, I've realized that in order to do that, I'm going to have to speak with the very few conscious leaders out there that are willing to open up to that are willing to harmonize their own life and business and bring love within that spectrum. And that's not the mass. I know that. But if you're listening to this that far, you are part of that mass. You are part of that group. And that's how I want to help you. I want to help you free yourself from yourself. Be that loving, joyful, at peace soul that you are in your life, in your relationships, and then go have fun and let's do that in your business too. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy this chat and I'd love to hear from you. So please, I'll invite you, reach out, leave a comment, share your thoughts. Let me know how that resonates and share it. Share it to those that you believe will benefit from hearing about this revolution that one needs to lead inside and outside. That I call a spiritual revolution. Spiritualizing one's life and one's business is the new iteration that I'm suggesting. And I think we're craving for that today in this world. We need this. And we need you. Rise up, hero. You can do this. And I'm with you, cheering for you, and sending you a lot of love. Don't be a stranger. Reach out. All right? Cheers. Until next time. Thank you.